Welcome to the show. My name is Jeremy Poole, and I'm the host of The Moment on Real Estate Social, where we explore and celebrate the necessary transformational process one must go through to achieve a high level of success in real estate. Today, we have the great pleasure of hanging out with James Colburn. Thanks for coming on the show, James.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
James is the author of the book Reese Succeed. He's a coach, he's a speaker, and he's also the director of business development for John L. Scott. What a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, my man. James, as you know, the show is called The Moment. So what would you consider or characterize being your moment or series of moments that allowed you to become the success that you are today?
Gosh, I mean, I'd say it goes back to my best year in real estate, which happened to be my worst year in real estate.
Okay.
So many of us on the show and those who are watching would probably remember 2006 being a really great real estate year. And Christmas Eve 2006, I had one of the very best years of my real estate career. I had sold 120 houses that year, one basically every 3 days, and I was at our lake house up in Lake Goodwin, Washington, and I was literally trying to will my phone to ring one more time. So I actually was staring at my phone and saying, please ring, please ring.
One more cell.
If you were in this room, you would think, hey, this guy's living the dream. He's at his lake house. It's Christmas Eve. Kids are playing Legos in the other room. But I was just kind of a mess. Okay. And I knew there was something wrong, but I didn't exactly know what at that point. It just didn't feel right. Yeah. So I ran down I asked my wife how late she felt Costco would be open that evening. It was 8:30 at the time, and she said probably 9 because it's Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
So I ran down to Costco because we didn't have a TV in our lake house by design.
Right.
And I ran down to Costco to buy with one goal, which was to buy a TV and a DVD so that we could watch some television, so I could get my mind off this whole fact that my phone's not ringing. Yeah. I mean, I had a starch shirt in the car. I was ready to put that shirt on and go to work and sell another house. Wow. So ran down, picked up a TV, came back home and plugged it in. Of course, my wife asked me, so I thought we weren't going to have a TV here, and I said we weren't, but right now I need to get my mind off of the fact that my phone's not ringing. You know, at that moment, for me, that was really my moment.
Okay.
Because I realized there was something wrong here. I'd been chasing after the transaction aspects of real estate, which is so easy to get involved. I mean, we're really
caught up in it.
The whole kind of you're only as good as your next sale.
Right.
And so that didn't feel right to me, but I didn't exactly know how to fix it.
Okay.
Of course, in 2007, the market shifted significantly. So that helped me get my mind off of being wrapped up in the next transaction because there wasn't any transactions to be had.
Sure.
But one of the things I did is I hired a coach.
Okay.
And my coach said, well, so what am I going to coach you on? And I said, well, your goal is to help me make another $300,000 a year. So you'd think you'd think I would have learned my lesson, but at that point I thought, well, the way to fix this unease
is more money.
Is more money. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'll just make another $300,000 and kind of just continue to force the needle up, if you will, in real estate.
Yeah.
And my coach asked me a really interesting question, which honestly was the defining moment of change for me. Amanda, by the way, my coach and I never met in person. So we only met by phone.
Wow.
I've never met her to this day, which I kind of like. And we talk over the phone for 45 minutes to an hour. And
per week, per month?
Once a week.
Okay.
And I've fashioned kind of my coaching around that too, because the value is just not getting caught up in all of the hand motions and body language and whatnot. And I was able to be really transparent with my coach. And she said, James, I just got to ask you one question before I help you make another $300,000. She said, do you play Legos with your kids?
Good question.
And well, it was a good question, but I didn't exactly know how that tied in with making another $300,000. But I asked her to expand. I said, it's a good question because it's really difficult for me to play with my kids. It's hard for me to slow down enough to get down on the floor and play Legos with my kids
and just be a kid again.
And once I do slow down, and once there's stillness, and I'm involved with my kids, I start thinking of all the things I need to do, for my job and the next transaction, of course.
Sure. And the fact that your phone's not ringing.
Right,
That's
right. You're just very much reminded by it. It's kind of like going on vacation. There's the great part of going on vacation, but that, from a sales standpoint, especially in the industry we work within, there's that kind of crushing reality that while you're on vacation, you're not producing. Mm-hmm. So at any rate, I said, I can't. It's really hard for me to play Legos and with my kids or to do anything. And she said, "So here's the deal. I can help you make another $300,000 a year, but only when you can play Legos with your kids and enjoy it."
Wow.
So that was a huge defining moment for me, and we spent the next couple of years working on that together.
Wow. So well, that's fantastic. That's a little bit different response than what I was expecting, and probably what you were expecting as well.
Yeah. Well, and it was metaphorical. So it was really like, do we play Legos with our children? Do we play Legos with our friends, if you will, metaphorically, or with our significant other or spouse or whoever? Or are we just always so massively involved in the next deal that we forget the human relational aspects of our success?
That's so important. For me, one thing that I've been working on is trying not to have my phone out when it's time to have dinner. And just something as simple as that, you realize how addicted you are to chasing that next deal, to putting that next project together. So that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
So James, you've achieved a very high level of success. You were a top producing agent. You were also branch manager. You coach people. You're also the director of business development for John L. Scott, not just a particular branch, but the entire company. How has your definition of success evolved over the years?
When I go back to 2006, 7, and 8, and all that I learned, I realized that one thing I was really great at is business planning goals, business planning how many sales I wanted, where they would come from, and then putting into motion all the various, the various things that I would need to do to accomplish those. And I would hold myself very accountable to doing just that. But one thing I forgot, and one thing that I really failed to implement within my business plan, was the whole concept of fulfillment. I was able to make everything else happen. I was able to make the sales that I set forth to accomplish. But why did I skip the part about fulfillment and passion and joy and implementing that into my yearly plan?
Right.
So for me, and Tony Robbins said it best when he says, "Success without fulfillment is failure."
So talk to us a little bit more about fulfillment. What does that mean? And I guess some people might think fulfillment as success. Kind of talk to us a little bit about what it means to be fulfilled, or what that might look like for James.
Absolutely. It is a moving target for each person, and fulfillment is something that changes over time in each of our lives. That's especially in the kind of serial entrepreneurial concept of fulfillment. But for my feeling is that we need to become more us.
Yes.
We
hit it right there on the button, my friend.
So we need to become more. We need to become more of who we already are.
Yes.
And my whole thought on this is that as we become more of who we are, and my whole experience on this, we are more successful. So it's not like I'm saying make less money and just be fulfilled.
Yeah.
I'm saying no. If you become more of who you already are, you become a whole person rather than one-dimensional, if you will.
Yeah.
That's when the juice of life shows up, and it's being involved with and being focused on the things that bring you the most amount of joy and fulfillment. You know, whether it's, you know, working with people you enjoy, or whether it's going on vacation with your family, or like I had mentioned, you know, playing more Legos with your connections.
Right.
All those aspects is becoming more of who you are rather than being one-dimensional.
I love that, because honestly, I think at the core, this is what we're trying to do here, is by doing this, by building the company, it allows me to be who I really am.
Absolutely.
And having people on the show like you who understand that at a very deep level, that really gets me excited, and it lets me know that we're doing the right thing here. So you wrote the book, Reese Succeed.
Yes.
What does that mean? And
You know,
why did you write the book? Because I've tried writing books before, and it's a lot harder than it looks.
Yeah, ditto. I wrote it 4 times, actually.
Okay.
You know, one of the things that I realized is that all of us have these great ideas, but it's really about execution.
Yes.
You know, it's really the things that we actually do and execute on.
And struggle through.
Yeah, and struggle through.
Yeah.
And life doesn't guarantee just a bunch of ease.
No.
It's really a process of sometimes doing the things that stretch you the most. And honestly, I'm not an author. Thank goodness I had an editor look over my work and fix me, is what I told. I actually acknowledged her at the end of my book for completing me, kind of a Jerry Maguire moment there of realizing that she really truly reached in my brain and completed me. So the nice thing about writing a book is that you don't have to put sentences together perfectly. Someone will help you. Someone will help you.
Yeah.
But the book really, I do believe that each of us have 2 or 3 books inside of us. And for me, the Reese Succeed notion had been clanking around for quite some time, even all the way back to 2006. And I felt like I wasn't the only one going through this kind of lack of fulfillment aspect.
Yeah.
That I think is very inherent within the entrepreneurial real estate industry type employment, if you will. Yeah. So, you know, you're just really chasing after that next transaction, that next deal. And sometimes we lose ourselves in the process. Yeah.
I completely agree, because for me personally, when I was 9 years old, I didn't wake up and say, you know what, I'm going to be the #1 lender in America. I don't think anybody wakes up and says, screw being a firefighter or an astronaut, I'm going to be the best. I'm going to be the best realtor. It's merely a platform to live the kind of life and the lifestyle and make the kind of money that you want to make.
Yes.
But if you can do that in a way that you can be yourself, that you can really be content and be excited about who you are becoming and the life that you are living day to day, that's the best stuff.
Yes, yeah. And so Reese Succeed really was an evening ritual that I created as a part of lifting out of this transactional identity that I was wrapped up in.
Lifting out of it.
Yeah, so I lifted out of it by putting together this evening ritual that just takes 5 minutes.
Okay.
It's just 5-minute exercise in the evening as you ramp down for sleep. So the first thing I realized is that when you become an adult, sometimes you no longer ramp down for sleep. You just kind of slide into bed at the very end of the day, especially if you're highly successful or achieved. Usually the evening is the time when you're celebrating or you're just coming down from the day. The morning you don't bargain with. You're going to wake up early in the morning, or you're going to have a set. Most highly successful, highly achieved individuals have a morning ritual that they don't mess with.
Sure.
The evening, however, is really the start of a successful next day. I mean, you've got to ramp down for sleep. And so I ended up creating this evening success ritual called the 5-minute epic evening ritual. It's just something that I was doing, and someone said, hey, that thing you do, that's something that a lot of people might really enjoy hearing about. And that's how the book was born. So it was really the whole concept of the 5-minute epic evening ritual is asking great questions about things that you don't have the answer to, waiting expectantly for those answers to arrive by utilizing the creative subconscious that occurs when you go to sleep and have a restful sleep, when you get the REM necessary in your sleep.
Sure.
And then also by asking great questions right before you go to sleep, you really have access also to the miraculous, so that that part of life that we can't exactly put our finger on,
Sure.
the answers from kind of the divinity, if you will.
Yeah.
So the 5-minute epic evening ritual was really an answer to not having all the answers. So many successful people that all they want to do is have all the right answers. But I'm saying it's the questions you ask. John DeMartini once wrote that the quality of our life is in part to the quality of our questions that we ask.
Yes. Yeah, I actually read that quote this morning while I was eating breakfast, and I was talking to my girlfriend about it. That's a really powerful statement if you actually think about it. And I'm looking forward to actually integrating this into my evening ritual, because for me, a hard driving person who has all this plans and strategies and things I want to do that next day, it is hard to wind down.
Well, and Jeremy, you're like us all. Where in the evening, that's your final. Finally things have calmed down enough where you start to kind of think through how the day went, and also what you want to accomplish for tomorrow.
Absolutely.
And normally, what we're doing is we're kind of putting together a task list in our mind, and we're kind of making sure that we haven't forgotten anything.
Exactly.
I'm assuming you jump up sometimes when you're laying in bed and shoot off one more email that you forgot to whatever, right?
Yep.
So this is the moment, if you will, when you can when you can either ramp down for sleep and believe in the possibility that you don't have all the answers, and you don't even have to have all the answers.
And you don't have to have them. And that's one thing that I'm starting to learn, is that almost everything that is good that came from me came from the Unmanifest.
Yes.
Which means I hope for good things. I'm a very positive, optimistic person, so I expect good things. But when they come, I couldn't have predicted it.
Right.
So I'm a big believer in what you're saying.
Well, and hey, I mean, we've all slept on a big decision.
Sure.
So the difference here is that I'm sleeping on big decisions, or big questions, if you will, every single night of the week. So for me, I'm just working on the sleep on it muscle.
There you go.
and that's really, I mean, that's what I've heard, the feedback I've heard from from the book and in the testimonials, is really just the willingness to let go of trying to have all the answers and just being open to asking the right questions. So.
Great. Well, phenomenal.
Yeah.
Well, this next question is kind of more of a personal question rather than for the audience, but we had lunch a few weeks ago, and you expressed some interest in possibly coming on as a advisor for kind of a new, unique business model. I guess, what do you see that we're doing differently here at Real Estate Social in the moment that caught your eye, and why you might want to spend some time and energy trying to help us build this thing?
Well, again, you're focused on the deeper aspects, the more fulfilling aspects of our business. You're inviting thought leaders in the industry, which I love. And folks that are really looking at this whole business in a different way. You're all about connection.
Yes.
And I want to be a part of working with influencers. So if I can make introductions with the moment, with Real Estate Social, if I can put you and everyone at Real Estate Social in touch with some of more thought leaders in the industry, people that I work with, that I'm super proud of, and in the organization that I work with, I love to be a part of that.
Excellent.
But it's really just influencing influencers.
There you go.
So
there you go.
Yeah.
Well, one last thing, where can people go to buy your book?
Great question. Of course, I have that answer. You could go to Amazon for, obviously Kindle or paperback and or audio or iBooks. Although you could go to jamescolburn.net for 3 free chapters. Great. And PDF download of exactly what is this whole 5-minute epic evening ritual. So it's called the Fast Launch Package on my
Launch Package. Okay.
Yeah, James Colburn with an L.net. So fast launch package at my website or buy it on Amazon.
Guys, it's a great book. Very wise man knows his stuff. Reese Succeed. James, thank you so much for coming on. I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching. Have a great day, and we'll see you again next week.
Upwell Mortgage was created based on a question. And the question was, can mortgage deliver more to the real estate community and to home buyers and homeowners? The answer we came up with, yes. For the past decade, the options have been either online lower rates or local expert service with higher rates. At Upwell, what we found is that you can have both lower rates and local expert service. If you're looking for something more in your next real estate transaction, click or call. We're here to help.